Coming up on Arirang News. The way to overcome some of the world's greatest challenges is to strengthen cooperation and unite in solidarity. This in President Yoon Suk-yeol's address to the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum under the theme of Solidarity in Action. South Korea is taking special care for a safe and comfortable Lunar New Year holiday. The measures include running the nation's central disaster safety situation room 24 hours a day and expanding access to medical care. It's been a year since South Korea imposed a new workplace safety law punishing employers for deadly on-duty accidents. But there are questions about the law because companies subject to it have actually seen more deaths. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in South Korea, and thank you for joining us on Arirang News. Just about an hour ago, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol delivered a special address at this year's World Economic Forum. The speech, titled Solidarity in Action, focused on global cooperation on some of the challenges the world faces today. For more on this, we have our Kim Do-yeon joining us online from the presidential office. Do-yeon, could you tell us more?
Well, that's right, Ji-young. His speech, as you mentioned, was titled Solidarity in Action, which seems to be in line with this year's Davos Forum theme, cooperation in a fragmented world. First, take a listen to what he pointed to as the most pressing matter.
지금 가장 시급한 것은 호혜적 연대를 바탕으로 한 공급망의 복원력 강화입니다. 공급망의 복원력 강화 역시 자유와 연대라는 정신을 바탕으로 해서 풀어가야 할 것입니다.
He said the pandemic, geopolitical conflicts, the rivalry for technological hegemony, and the weakening multilateral trade system have led to the fragmentation of the global supply chain, causing it to be reshaped. President Yoon proposed to the rest of the world that South Korea share its world-class production capabilities in semiconductors, rechargeable batteries, and steel and biotech, to become a key partner in restoring the global supply chain. He also said South Korea is willing to work with those that share its values. However, during the Q&A session, he emphasized that this is not to exclude anyone, even for China, which has its differences with South Korea. He explained that the point is to be inclusive and open. Not only that, President Yoon called for stronger cooperation and solidarity in overcoming other challenges, such as climate change and narrowing the health and digital gaps.
Now, Do-yeon, speaking of climate change, as he has been emphasizing for the past few days, even during his state visit to UAE, he mentioned nuclear energy again as a means to reach carbon neutrality.
Well, that's right. President Yoon's speech highlights nuclear energy as a key means to strengthen energy security while reducing reliance on fossil fuels. He promoted South Korea's tech prowess in nuclear power generation and offered to work with those that are willing to accept South Korea's help.
대한민국은 세계적 수준의 원전 기술력과 시공 또 운영 역량을 가지고 있으며 탄소 중립의 목표를 달성하기 위해 원전 기술이 필요한 나라들과 협력할 것입니다.
In addition to nuclear energy, he also mentioned clean hydrogen, saying it's been receiving attention as a game changer for future energy. He said he hopes the international community can closely communicate with each other to design a clean hydrogen certification scheme and establish standards and incentive policies for the production, utilization, and distribution of hydrogen in the future. Now, this was the first speech at Davos by a South Korean president in 9 years. Davos is his second stop after the UAE since he left for this overseas trip last Saturday. That's all I have for now. Ji-young.
Thank you, Do-yeon. Millions of Koreans will be traveling during the upcoming Lunar New Year holiday. And to make sure everyone can enjoy the long weekend, the government is gearing up to keep a close eye on public safety. Our Han Sung-woo has the details.
With the Lunar New Year just around the corner, South Korea's Prime Minister Han Duk-soo
has called for public safety measures to be thoroughly set in place across the country before the 4-day holiday.
I ask each ministry to take special care to ensure the public can enjoy a safe and comfortable Lunar New Year holiday.
In a meeting with relevant ministries in Seoul on Thursday, the Prime Minister said the nation's Central Disaster Safety Situation Room will be run 24 hours a day during the holiday period. The preparations come amid projections of unfavorable weather, including cold waves, icy roads, snow and rainfall, strong winds, and high seas. As for access to medical care, the Ministry of Health announced the same day that a total of 525 emergency rooms across the country will be offering services 24 hours a day, just like they do when it's not holiday season. A daily average of 261 public medical institutions, including small clinics, will be treating patients during the holidays as well. On the economic front, meanwhile, Prime Minister Han revealed that more than $31 billion in commercial funds will go into supporting small and medium-sized businesses and merchants. The government is also raising the supply of major Lunar New Year goods to its highest ever levels and providing discounts on agricultural, livestock, and fisheries products. In addition, the country's taken measures to ease the burden on the vulnerable, such as giving electricity bill discounts and energy vouchers. 한성우, Arirang News.
Rising prices make preparing food for the upcoming Seollal New Year holiday even more of a burden. With this, ready-made dishes are growing in popularity as consumers seek to simplify their 차려 tables. Shin Ha-young looks at the spending trends for this year's Seollal holiday.
Every Lunar New Year, Koreans prepare food on a 차려 table to honor their ancestors. But there could be more fruits and nuts and less meat on many 차려 tables this year. Compared to last year, fruits and nuts are around 10% cheaper, while livestock prices are up almost 6%. Recent data by Korea Price Information shows groceries for a 차려 table for a family of 4 are expected to cost 254,500 Korean won at traditional markets. That's roughly $205. The price has gone up by 4.1% from last year. At large supermarkets, prices has risen to 359,741 or about $290. The current economic conditions have led to some items increasing in price while others have got cheaper.
Prices of agricultural products like fruits, nuts, and vegetables, which have seen an increase in production, have fallen compared to last year. On the other hand, prices of livestock products and processed foodstuffs have risen. This is mainly because of a rise in prices of raw materials like global grain and oil prices, which have been affected by the war in Ukraine.
With inflation adding to people's burden this Seollal, many shoppers are trying to keep their 차려 tables simple with cheaper and more convenient ready-made products like this japchae and 빈대떡.
With the same amount of money, I was able to purchase enough groceries last year, but not this year. For the 차려 table, I think people prefer buying ready-made products instead, as that is more convenient, and for me, they even taste better.
This change was also reflected in the data. In a recent survey conducted by Incrude, a local online job placement portal, 2/3 of the respondents said they will simplify their 차려 tables by reducing the types of food or using ready-made items.
Many have skipped setting the 차려 table for the last 2 years after the COVID-19 outbreak. The Seonggyungan Confucian Association announced details of a simplified 설날 table setting last Monday, aiming to maintain desirable spirits by suggesting a less complicated way. I think it will continue.
The government has also unveiled extra measures to tame prices.
We will try to lower the prices of 16 commodities that are in high demand, including apples, pears and pork, by supplying 208,000 tons of goods, which is the most ever, and providing 30 billion Korean won for discounts.
As a result, prices of certain groceries like chicken have already stabilized ahead of Seollal. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
U.S. retail sales and producer prices dropped lower last December in what analysts are saying is a tangible sign of a slowing economy. Oh Soo-young has the figures.
As the U.S. economy appears to be losing steam, all eyes are on what the Federal Reserve's next policy rate move will be. The Federal Reserve's Beige Book on Wednesday shows that inflation has been subsiding to a moderate to moderate pace, with price increases expected to slow further. This comes as the Commerce Department's figures show that retail sales in December fell by 1.1% on month in the US, marking the biggest drop in a year and the second straight month of decline. Rising interest rates, coupled with high inflation and worries about a slowing economy, appear to have taken their toll on retail spending in almost every category, despite the Black Friday shopping holiday and the year-end seasonal festivities. Production also took a hit, with manufacturing output falling by the most in nearly 2 years in December. Meanwhile, producer prices fell by 0.5%, more than what economists predicted. The decline in producer prices is attributed to lower costs of food and energy. This suggests the Federal Reserve's tightening monetary policy is finally helping dampen the persistently high inflation in the country. It is unclear whether the Fed will now soften its policy as inflation shows some signs that it is coming under control. Some officials have hinted that a 0.25% rate hike may be likely at the upcoming policy meeting later this month, while others still endorse a 0.5% increase. Fed officials are now watching the job market, which has remained robust overall since the last Beige Book report in November. But with the weaker sales and producer price data, analysts say Fed could slow down the pace of its rate hikes to cushion the blow on American households. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
It's been almost a year since South Korea implemented a new law to improve workplace safety, punishing employers for accidents that result in injury or death. But ironically, companies affected by the law have seen the number of deaths increase. Last year, deaths from industrial accidents in South Korea increased despite a new workplace safety law that holds employers criminally liable for deadly workplace accidents. A year has passed since implementation of the Serious Accident Punishment Act, which provides for penalties of at least 1 year in prison or up to $800,000 in fines. It took effect last January for larger companies with 50 or more employees. Companies smaller than that were given a 2-year grace period. In 2022, the total number of workplace deaths fell to 644, down around 5% from a year earlier. But ironically, the number at companies with 50 or more employees, the ones affected by law, went up, raising questions about its effectiveness. By sector, the construction industry accounted for the majority of deaths at 341, followed by manufacturing. As for the causes of death, the most common was falling at 268. There were also more than 90 deaths caused by entanglement in equipment or machinery.
The number of workplace deaths at companies subject to the law has actually increased. Advanced countries have acknowledged that there are limits to how much accidents can be reduced by government regulations and punishment.
The ministry said companies put less effort into improving safety than they did avoiding the punishment. It also said the legal process for punishment was very slow. Last year, there were about 230 accidents subject to the law, but only 11 of them led to an indictment. The ministry also said it's going to revise the law in a way that encourages companies and their employees to work together in checking for safety risks and improving workplace conditions. The ministry plans to come up with a comprehensive reworking of the law by this May and will then push for legislation. Lawmakers in the U.S. state of Georgia have passed a resolution declaring the state's own observance of Korean American Day. At Wednesday's ceremony for the federal observance of Korean American Day, held at Atlanta's main airport, Georgia State House Representatives Sam Park and Soo Hong officially presented the resolution to the community. It declares January 23rd as Korean American Day for public purposes in that particular state. The resolution was passed on the 13th, which was the 120th anniversary of the first Korean immigrants to America. Georgia, in particular, has a Korean-American population of around 100,000 and will soon be home to plants to be built by the Korean companies Hyundai Motor and battery maker SK Innovation. Right now is a time when change is needed for the good of humanity. This was the message from the SDX Foundation on Thursday at its forum discussing private-led carbon reduction projects to address the climate crisis. The SDX Foundation pursues sustainable development through the digital transformation, and it shared its goals and visions for 2023. This year, SDX aims to carry out research, campaigns, and education to achieve reductions in energy consumption. They'll also collaborate with climate technology companies on carbon reduction projects. Previously, the foundation has developed the Carbon Reduction Index and established what's called the Green Class membership to encourage businesses to reduce energy consumption. A two-day parliamentary session in Pyongyang has come to a close with no appearance by Kim Jong-un, but rather an intriguing announcement regarding language preservation. Our Unification Ministry correspondent Kim Mo-kyun with the details.
North Korea's state-run Korean Central News Agency says the regime held the 8th session of the 14th Supreme People's Assembly for 2 days from Tuesday. Going against general speculation that leader Kim Jong-un would deliver a message on its weapons usage, Kim was not present at the event, and there was no public message delivered from him. A senior official from the Unification Ministry says that Kim's absence doesn't seem unusual, as he only attended 9 out of the total 17 such meetings since he took power, and because the items on the agenda at the latest meeting were general domestic issues. Despite Kim's absence, some notable decisions were made at the meeting, one of which was the unanimous passage of a bill aimed at protecting Pyongyang's standard language. The bill regulates the use of foreign languages in the regime, including dialects used in South Korea. Though the details of the bill haven't been revealed, an expert on North Korea says the adoption is aimed at tightening controls of overseas content and media coming into the regime.
The passage sheds light on how much the regime is conscious of the public's use of language, especially teenagers. They seem to have concerns that the exposure to foreign content and foreign languages would weaken the North Korean people's solidarity and influence its governing system.
Also approved at the session was North Korea's 2023 budget plan, which is up 1.7% compared to the previous year. The regime will raise spending on the economic sector by 1.2%, while its defense budget stays at the same as last year at 15.9% of the total. The KCNA says Premier Kim Duk-hun highlighted that the state budget should be implemented without fail to financially support the regime's defense and economic capabilities. Another development at the Assembly was that Meng Kyung-il, director of the Secretariat and Presidium member of the Central Committee of the Democratic Front for the Reunification of Korea, was elected vice chair of the SPA. Pundits are paying close attention to the latest change, as Meng played a key role in improving inter-Korean relations during the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, to which the North has sent athletes. Kim Mo-kyun, Arirang News.
The United States is reportedly set to finalize a massive additional military aid package for Ukraine. It'll include some new weapons that are being supplied for the first time to Ukraine, but it does not include the heavy tanks that Kyiv has asked for. Lee Si-hoo tells us more.
The United States is set to finalize a $2.5 billion military aid package for Ukraine. According to CNN's report citing unnamed sources on Wednesday, the package could come before the end of the week. It will be the first time that the U.S. will send Stryker combat vehicles and Bradley fighting vehicles, both designed to carry infantry quickly across the battlefield. The Pentagon had announced earlier this month that it would send the Bradley fighting vehicles. Yet, the package is not expected to include the heavy tanks that Ukraine has repeatedly asked for. Ukrainian President Zelensky, in his video address delivered to the World Economic Forum in Davos Wednesday, called for a quicker supply of heavy tanks for Ukraine's army.
The supplies of Western tanks must outpace another invasion of Russian tanks.
This comes as Germany hesitates over whether to supply Leopard 2 tanks, regarded as one of the best heavy tanks in the world, to Ukraine. At the forum, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz avoided committing to supplying the tanks. Also at Davos, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg called for more support for Ukraine, saying that the country needs greater military strength at what is a pivotal moment in the war.
If we want Ukraine to prevail as an independent sovereign nation and a peaceful negotiated solution, more support for Ukraine is the way to peace, to a negotiated peace.
This comes as defense leaders from around 50 countries and NATO will meet at Germany's Ramstein air base on Friday to discuss the ongoing war in Ukraine. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
One of the best things about the theater is being able to suspend reality and break down the barriers of time and location. So what if you could take a glimpse into the life of one of the most legendary composers of all time? The musical Beethoven is currently making its global debut here in South Korea. Our culture correspondent Song Yoo-jin went there herself and files this report.
Beethoven comes back to life on stage. The musical Beethoven had its world premiere in Seoul, South Korea last week. It's an original piece created by Grammy-winning musical lyricist Mihail Kunse and composer Sylvester Levay. The pair joined forces with South Korea's very own EMK musical company, and after more than 7 years of joint effort, the long-anticipated piece has been welcoming audiences at the Seoul Arts Center. The show is set in Vienna, Austria during the early 19th century. Ludwig van Beethoven in his 40s is living alone, distrusting love and people. Though hailed as the best pianist and composer of that time, he's living in the shadow of his painful past, growing up under a violent and abusive father. Then he meets a woman named Anthony Brentano, and the two fall in love. But their relationship faces a rocky road as Anthony is already married and Beethoven starts losing his hearing. Throughout the 165-minute runtime, the show walks the audience through the legendary composer's life, all the ups and downs. What's worth noting is that all the musical numbers are based on Beethoven's works, from Moonlight Sonata, Pathétique, Für Elise to Symphony No. 5.
There's a scene where Beethoven steps down into the orchestra pit and actually starts conducting. We wanted to make the audience feel closer to his music and also emphasize his career as a musician.
And the production not only offers great music, it's packed with a stellar lineup of actors. Singer and actor Park Kyo-shin, actors Park Eun-tae and Kai, all big names in the industry, star as Beethoven. Cho Jung-eun, Ok Ju-yeon, and Yoon Gong-ju play his secret lover, Anthony Brentano.
This is the very first edition of Beethoven. None of us were familiar with the script or the song, so we weren't really sure how it would all turn out. But now I'm sure Beethoven will be smiling down on us and rooting for our show.
It's challenging but fun. We're constantly revising the production based on audience feedback, so we're excited about how it'll improve between now and closing night.
Those who wish to explore Beethoven's life and music can do so until March 26th. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
Colder spells are back in the forecast tomorrow daytime. Central regions will be especially cold with temperatures staying in the minus range. Maximum temperatures in Seoul will be quite frigid at -1 degree. Other regions, such as Seollal in Gangwon-do province, will see bone-chilling temperatures. Make sure to dress in layers to keep your body temperatures warm. And light snowfall is currently falling across inland regions. Until tomorrow, Gangwon-do province and regions with higher elevations will see the most amount of snowfall, with up to 5 centimeters. Parts of the Seoul metropolitan area and Chungcheong-do province will see about 1 centimeter. This round of snowfall will last until tomorrow morning. Seoul and Gyeongju will be starting off at -2 degrees tomorrow. Most regions will see sunny skies for the daytime. Gwangju will get up to 4 degrees. Busan and Jeju will be warm at 8 degrees Celsius. Next Tuesday, severe cold wave conditions will sweep across the nation again. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That brings us to the end of the newscast on this Thursday night, where we have one more day to go until the weekend. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow we'll be back with the most up-to-date news. Have a lovely night.
This week, NAPD will meet with the first ambassador of Slovenia